Hello, Audioholics. This is Logan, and welcome back to Music Reviews. In this video, we will be reviewing the brand new Foo Fighters album, Medicine at Midnight. And here to help me is, as always, my good friend, Foo Filer.
I don't even want to have anything, no association with Foo Fighters after this album. Oh God, this was a,
So
yeah.
I should just I should retract my statement in fear of libel.
Yes, yes,
Libel
I will sue
slander
you
in
for
this
libel
case.
slander.
Okay. Well, yeah. It's written. Obviously, this
Yep,
entire
libel
show is
slander is a thing.
transcribed.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Medicine at Midnight was terrible. I hated it, and he hated it, and I think that's one thing on Foo Fighters we can agree on, which
Yeah.
you'll see we don't agree on much. So, for those of you who don't know, who are new to this series, we're doing reviews now, and we have sections: vocals, instrumentals, songwriting slash composition, and then personal enjoyment. We'll go through each of them, give a rating out of 10, and then our final score at the end. If you want a further explanation on all of that, go watch our first review, Except Too Mean to Die. So we'll just get right into it, starting with vocals. So for me, excuse me, I have a bit of stuffy nose. I've always been a fan of the Foo Fighters. Even as a little kid, I loved songs like My Hero, The Pretender. I think Monkey Wrench. I think the Foo Fighters hold like a very special place in mainstream rock. Um, and this album didn't bring it on the vocal department. But I will say that they were definitely the best part of the record, in my opinion. I've always thought that Dave Grohl was a great singer for his style. You know, performances like The Pretender and frankly, the whole album that song is off of, just a great vocal performance all around for the style of music that this band plays. I personally enjoy his style. Even on this album, I would say that I enjoyed his vocals. That said, there was something more modern about the way that he was singing to my ears that reminded me of bands like Imagine Dragons, these sort of like more indie rock bands. And I don't think that's a good look for Dave Grohl. It really took away from my enjoyment. Also, I feel like his performance was very phoned in on this album. It felt like there wasn't a whole lot of passion. It was just like going through the motions, you know? So for those reasons, I give it a 6.5 out of 10 in this section.
All right. So I might actually be a little bit nicer on the vocals than you, but I'm actually going to give it lower, mainly because I came in with much lower expectations. I was not expecting this album to be good. I was expecting it to be very mediocre. Mainly because I believe the band is very mediocre. So the vocals to me just sound like every other Foo Fighters album. So generally not good, but by far the least offensive aspect of the album. It's passable and forgettable, straight down the middle, all around. 5 out of 10.
So the next section is instrumentation or instrumentals. Wow, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. I fucking hated this aspect of the album. Ironically, not the section I'll rate the lowest, though. I'm not even going to bother looking up the names of the musicians because I really just don't care. This is just a generic pop rock slog fest the entire way through. Not 1 millisecond of interesting instrumentation exists on this record. Very, very disappointing for me. At least it was competent, but just because it's not dog shit doesn't mean it's good. That's about all I can say, though. Just very boring. 3 out of 10.
So I will actually say that this is probably the strongest point in the album's favor. I actually kind of disagree a little bit. There's a lot of variety on the album, and it's all around constructed pretty well. Unique instrumentation ideas that almost give it a bit of a retro kind of 70s vibe. Now, don't get me wrong, and spoiler alert, this does not even come close to saving the album by any means. But instrumentals alone are decent enough. I give it a 7 out of 10 because there is a lot of especially very unique kind of percussion. I think the percussion may have been the strongest point as a whole on the album.
So the next section is songwriting slash composition. This is by far the weakest aspect of the album, in my opinion. I will start by being a little positive. I praise the relatively clean mix. That said, I don't really enjoy the production style overall on this record. It was serviceable, but as I said before, just because it's not dog shit doesn't mean that it's good. But that's about all I can say positive about the songwriting or composition. It was just boring by the numbers pop rock. More Maroon 5, more modern Maroon 5 is a seriously valid comparison at times. And at other times, I would actually rather listen to Maroon 5. And I'm not talking about the really early stuff people actually like. I think Girls Like You is straight up better in every way than almost anything on this album. And anyone who knows me knows that I don't say shit like that lightly. I absolutely fucking despise Maroon 5 and everything they stand for. So yeah, let that speak for itself. I give this section a 1 out of 10.
So, it's funny because, like, I am not a Foo Fighters fan, I guess, just to get that out of the way. And yet, so far, I feel like I'm being a little bit nicer on the album. Don't worry. I will grow to hate it and give it the business, but 4 out of 10 for me.
Killing is your business, and business is
This
good.
is good. I'll give the positives out of the way because, my mom always told me if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. There are some songs that do kind of work. Working on a War and Cloud Putter are okay at very, very best, giving them the benefit of the doubt. And I think they will probably satisfy some of the more hardcore fans. Now for the negatives. Everything fucking else. Look, I am not a fan of this band. In fact, I kind of hate them. But all the instrumental variety in the world cannot save a very generic product. Songs like Chasing Birds and the appropriately titled Shame Shame are almost bad to the point of parody. And the other songs are just too generic to even comment on. Honestly, if these songs were so bad they were good, I would have rated this album as a whole higher than I ultimately ended up doing. Combine that with the fact that the albums is only 36 minutes long, and you have a slapdash product from a band that just refuses to give a shit. 4 out of 10.
All right, so personal enjoyment. How much did I personally enjoy listening to this album? Well, if you were hearing me so far, you probably have a good guess. This was a very unenjoyable experience for me. It was just a boring slog fest at the best of times and downright painful at the worst. Really not something I would ever willingly come back to. And that brings me to my final score of 4 out of 10 for this section.
Wow. So here's where I'm going to be a little bit meaner. 1 out of 10. Absolutely nothing redeemable about this album on a personal level. This album gave me absolutely nothing to enjoy. I am often known, if not infamous, for giving songs, artists, and bands the benefit of the doubt in many cases, even if they might not deserve it. I cannot even give it points for being bad, but fun ironically. Like I said, it's not even so bad it's good. Even the song that might have worked objectively are honestly not very good personally and not even good in terms of Foo Fighters' career. Also, Foo Fighters suck. Grohl sucks, and they have not and never will put out a song that isn't generic, corporate, plastic, run of the mill butt rock. I mean, how in the fuck is it that we as music critics usually how is it that we as music critics universally agree that Nickelback and Five Finger Death Punch suck, but Foo Fighters all made the career out of doing the exact same thing and basically creating the butt rock that allowed bands like Nickelback to realize that butt rock with a generic Hurricane support the troops, America fuck yeah, conservative bent prints money and somehow gets a pass. This is to punk as Pat Boone is to early rock and roll, or as Michael Bolton is to R&B. Mind rotting, brain melting music that lacks no soul or color besides green. Bottom of the barrel slop. Honestly, this is the only reason I gave it a 1, is because it was at least short and at least ended at some point. I cannot give it anything beyond that. Look, you can have your opinions on Nirvana. I used to like Nirvana a lot as a kid, but even Nirvana at least tried to stand for something. At least they had something important. They felt that they had something important to bring to the table. And I can at least say that Nirvana and Foo Fighters created genres and, like them or not, definitely shaped the industry. I think Nirvana did it better because at least Nirvana inspired bands that would do their style better, like Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Garbage, Filter, for example. Foo Fighters has inspired Nickelback, Five Finger Death Punch, and Kid Rock, and probably Limp Bizkit, and just everything bad. It is just a Pandora's box of everything bad in music. So yeah, 1 out of 10.
All right, so that brings us to our absolute final scores for this album. For me, it's a 3.6 out of 10.
Yeah.
What about you? What did yours come out to?
Mine came out to a 4.3 out of 10. Did you want to give your final thoughts real quick?
I already did that with my personal enjoyment section. I don't really want to spend another second talking about this album, honestly.
Yeah, I suppose. I do have some finishing thoughts. Look, I have made it absolutely clear for my hatred for this band. That being said, I went into this objectively, and I tried to at least look at it from a neutral perspective. Somebody who might have grown up with this kind of music, might have memories of, The Pretender and Is Someone Giving the Best of You and My Hero and songs like that. That being said, my opinion hardly even matters because even somebody like Tyler, who was an actual fan of this group, didn't like it. In conclusion, I can grant them this. They have successfully graduated from pissing me off to pissing everyone off. Hopefully now everyone can see the band in the same light I do. And that, I think, is the only remotely positive thing about this record.
All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. What did you think about the album? Tell us in the comments section if you like. Did you really enjoy it? Why? That's a really good question.
Yeah, why?
And I would love to hear the different opinions on this album if there are any.
I mean, look, like if you have a different opinion, we totally trashed on the album. None of us even gave it a passing grade at 4.3. And I'm the generous one, is a fucking F. But like, look, if you like the album, give us your opinions. Maybe you can show us something that we didn't see. But until then, we have Tyler and me bidding you audio
do. Bye-bye.